She had come in scared. She hadn't slept for 3 days. She sipped her coffee slowly, appreciating the quality of the black liquid, feeling its heat drip all the way down into her stomach. She was so thin now. She hadn't eaten in days either. The warmth of the paper cup gave her comfort. She clung to it with both hands. She closed her eyes and sighed. Sunlight spilled into the cafe and warmed her too. For the first time in days, she began to feel safe. Maybe safe was too strong a word. Perhaps comfortable was closer to the truth. "How's the coffee, madame?" A young waitress stood there smiling. Her kindness was almost unbelievable. She was young and very pretty. For a brief moment, the woman caught a glimpse of the girl she used to be. Someone naturally beautiful, but now felt devastatingly ugly. From the corner of her eye, she sensed the manager staring at her. A woman in a grey suit and plain face. The type who had never drawn much attention from the boys, and had made up for it by being cruel at work, climbing into a position of power. She refused to give that woman the satisfaction of a glance. She was a paying customer. There was nothing the manager could do. "It's delicious, truly. Thank you," she said softly, feeling the first genuine smile stretch across her face in days. It felt good. She wasn't sure how she had ended up here. Homelessness had always seemed a world away, but still, she had walked the path and somehow arrived at this place. How? Why had she chosen this road? And surely she must have chosen it. It doesn't happen suddenly. It happens over years, through hundreds, maybe thousands of small choices. And she allowed herself to blame others, Kobe most of all. He was the main reason she had landed here. But she had chosen Kobe. Why? She thought of fire as an analogy, attractive, beautiful, even warming when close. But get too close, and you were left with scars. That was Kobe. She felt stupid now. The teenage girl she'd been only 3 years ago seemed like a completely different person. She felt she had aged a decade since then. That girl had been much like that waitress who had brought her coffee, bright, full of life. She believed happiness could be found again, though it would be a long road. Hot baths, a roof over head, those things were possible. She was on her way. At that very moment, with the sun on her face and the warm cup in her hand, she felt like the worst was over. She hadn't been high for 3 days. When her thoughts turned to family, an overwhelming urge to cry swept over her. She let a few tears fall before pushing the thoughts away. She could barely touch it without being consumed. Her parents, good people, wholesome, kind and caring, had given her everything she had ever wanted. How could she possibly show up at their door looking like this? Inconceivable. An image came into mind. Kobe laughing at her elderly father, her father walking down a beautiful street leaning on his cane, not giving Kobe a glance, and Kobe spitting at the back of his head in a petty rage. Why this memory? She had seen Kobe do this on more than one occasion. His hatred for a certain kind of person had once seemed justified to her. Now she only saw ugliness in it. She felt unclean for having given herself so completely to such a man. A white napkin slid across the table. The young waitress again, this time silent, just smiling. What had it all been for? She searched for an answer, her mind circling back to metaphor. She thought of that experiment. Put people in an empty room with nothing but a button that delivers a small electric shock, and eventually they press it, choosing pain over boredom. Was that Kobe? Was that the life she had chosen? Pain over boredom. She had to rationalize it somehow, because otherwise it made no sense at all. But what to do now? She didn't know why, but something felt different since she had entered the cafe. She imagined the doorway, as a dividing line. The woman who had walked in was the wreck she had become over the last few years. The one who would walk out wasn't someone new, but it was the real her. The girl who had hugged her dad every night and kissed on his cheek before bed. The girl who loved badminton and went to church every Sunday. She had found that girl again. Had that waitress reminded her of herself? Had the coffee reminded her of beauty in the simple things? Had the stern face of the manager given her perspective on who she didn't want to be? Probably not, she thought. More likely, enough time had passed since the drugs, and her brain was finally beginning to think clearly again. It was all chemicals, not some mystical social chemistry, that made this a revelation. Still, she made a promise, looking at that door. Charlotte, the girl she used to be, the real her, be the one walking out.